I have a confession to make. For years, I was a fraud. Not to others, but to myself. I knew all the techniques, I taught these principles, I could quote Abraham Hicks and Neville Goddard, but privately, I was still struggling with the same patterns of self-sabotage and limiting behaviors that had allowed me and followed me for decades. And the breaking point came when I got myself out of 6 figures worth of debt, only to watch myself destroy it through self-sabotage. And it really is true that most lotto winners go back to being broke again or bankrupt after a couple of years. Because I realized my conscious intentions didn't match what my subconscious programming was. And I was trying to manifest with a mind that was literally wired for failure. And so I lost a lot of money that actually got me out of the debt. And this sent me down a rabbit hole of neuroscience, specifically Dr. Joe's work on self-directed neuroplasticity. What I discovered changed everything. And manifestation isn't just about intention, but it's literally about rewiring your neural pathways so that success becomes your brain's and your identity, your neurological state's default setting. And so I want to share that with you today. My personal journey of how I systematically brainwash myself for success. I will show you the exact techniques that I used to bypass this guarded critical mind, conscious mind of mine, and the uncomfortable in-between place where my old patterns fought back and the specific protocol that finally aligned my subconscious mind with my conscious intentions. Now, this is the missing piece that most manifestation teachers completely overlook, and it might be the exact thing that you have been searching for. So I'm excited. Oh, but before we begin, if you are serious about manifestation and want to master the process without the complexity, the real process, so you can achieve more while doing less, check out the resources down below in the description. So, there I was, sitting in my meditation chair, surrounded by enough manifestation books that you could build a small fort, but they were only like half read. And I was that guy that could tell you exactly why your manifestation isn't working. Or you're not being specific enough. You need to feel it more, as if it already happened. You're focusing on lack instead of abundance. I was that annoying fucker. Let's just say that. Meanwhile, my own bank account was looking at me saying like, bro, are we even on the same frequency? Are we even in the same reality right now? It's like being a personal trainer, but I have a dad bod, telling everyone about proper nutrition, the right form, while secretly demolishing a box of donuts every night. The incoherence was real. But here's the thing. I wasn't consciously lying. I genuinely believed these principles. I'd see them work, occasionally. But it was just enough to keep me hooked. You know how slot machines are, designed to give you a small win, so you get that dopamine rush and you want to keep playing. Same thing as that. The problem wasn't that manifestation doesn't work. The problem was that I was trying to manifest with a brain that was literally wired for failure. And so 3 years ago, through what seemed like a miracle at that time, I manifested my way out of 6 figures worth of debt. An opportunity to sell my property, which 3x'd after COVID appeared out of nowhere. Unheard of. Investments paid off unexpectedly, and suddenly I had more money in the bank than the last 5 years of being in debt. I should have been happy, right? This was finally proof that manifestation worked. And this wasn't just a small thing. Look, don't get me wrong, I was happy and excited for about 3 weeks. But within 8 months, I managed to self-sabotage myself back into financial crisis. Not as quite as bad as before, but heading in that direction fast. It's like watching yourself in a scary movie, in a horror movie. You know those moments when you're screaming at the character into the movie screen and you're like, don't go down there, do not go there. But then they go anyway. That was me with money, I could see myself making a terrible decision in slow motion. Like, dude, why are you on this call with this guy? But I couldn't stop. I was investing in dumb courses that weren't aligned to me, and they cost a fortune. I was venturing into investment opportunities that I had no idea about, no knowledge. Literally. That's when it hit me. The problem wasn't my manifestation techniques. The problem was me, specifically. To be even more specific, my subconscious programming about money, success, and what I believed that I deserved. So you can manifest $1 million. God will give it to you. But can you sustain and maintain in that receiving? It's like trying to download the latest iOS system into a Nokia brick phone back in the year 2000s, you know what I mean? The hardware isn't compatible with the software. This realization sent me down a rabbit hole of neuroscience, and I became obsessed with understanding how our brain creates reality. Not in some woo-woo spiritual way, but literally neurologically. And neurologically doesn't mean just your brain, everything about you, everything. Your cells, DNA, everything. And that is when I discovered work on self-directed neuroplasticity. And let me tell you, it's like finding the cheat code for life. Finding the cheat code for the manifestation game. Now here's what I learned. Your brain has created neural pathways based on your past experiences. These neural pathways are like highways, okay? And your brainwaves travel through them. Your thoughts travel on these pathways automatically. Like real highways, the more traffic there is, the wider they make the road and the more established they become, right? Wow, there's a lot of people going through this road. Let's expand it. And if you spent years thinking lack thoughts, limitations, I'm not good enough, these highways are like 8-lane superhighways in your brain. While if you maintain your new thoughts about abundance, I'm abundant, and success, those new highways are like dirt paths, like you're traveling through the wilderness. They don't fully exist yet. They're not hardwired in yet. It's worse if you grew up with parents with lack mentality, and now that's been handed down to you. And if you failed a business venture or investment opportunity like I did, my God, now you got hit twice, right? You now got hit twice, and those pathways, those neural pathways, get even bigger. So this is not karma. We are self-claiming these things. We created these things ourselves. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's being efficient. That's all it's doing. It's saying, hello, we've got these perfectly good super highways that we have created already. They're built. Why are you trying to cut through the jungle with a machete in this dirt path with your new thoughts? What the hell? So I developed what I call my rapid identity shift system. And yes, I know brainwashing sounds intense, but if you're not going to brainwash yourself, society is going to brainwash you, and it's not going to be what you want. But that is exactly what we need to do to wash these new old neural pathways and create new ones. So write this down. This is how it works. First, you've got to identify your current neural pathway. Okay? What thoughts do you think automatically about money, success, relationships, or whatever it is you're trying to call into your life? For me, it was money is hard to come by. I have to struggle to make money. I have to work hard in my business. If I get too successful, people will just ask me for money, and I wouldn't know who the real ones are. These weren't conscious beliefs. They were my subconscious programming that had been running in the background of my mind for decades. Observation through what my parents went through, you know what I mean? If someone borrows money off you, that's all they want from you, to keep borrowing. And so, there is these unconscious fears and stuff that are running through the background. And so, that is what we need to crumble. That's what you need to identify. Okay? Step number 2 is interrupt. You gotta create pattern interrupts when you catch yourself with what you've identified. Because your brain loves efficiency. It's lazy, which means it will default to those old neural pathways unless you deliberately interrupt. You gotta interrupt that pattern interrupt. I started wearing a rubber band on my wrist. Every time I caught myself, thinking a limiting thought, I would snap the rubber band lightly, not to punish myself, but to wake myself up from the trance of automatic thinking. Yep. When you're like driving home and it's late at night and you're on autopilot, you know what I mean? Suddenly you didn't even realize you've been driving for 20 minutes. You don't even know what songs played. That is how most of us live our lives, on autopilot, following the same pathways, the same highways, day after day after day. Oh, you turned right instead of left on the supermarket today. Whoop-de-doo. What's the difference? And so that rubber band was my pattern interrupt. It was my way of saying to my brain, nope, we're not going to go down this old road once again. Look, what worked for me is that rubber band, maybe because I'm Asian, but if there's something else that can help you pattern interrupt, then please do it. Now I need to be real with you. And this is what most manifestations won't tell you. But there is an uncomfortable in-between phase when you are neurologically changing your identity. When you start challenging your old beliefs, your old thoughts, your old self is going to fight back. Ho, ho, ho. It's like a child throwing a tantrum. But we've always done it like this. The new way feels weird and uncomfortable. Go fucking back, homie, or I will make you go back. Literally, that's what it does. For me, this phase lasted about 3 to 4 weeks, and it was rough. Felt anxious, irritable, sometimes even physically uncomfortable. It was so much discomfort. My old self literally creating stress hormones to try to get me back into my old behaviors and habits, usually using shame and guilt. Now, this is the point, listen carefully, where most people give up. They think, this manifestation stuff doesn't work. I feel shitter. I feel worse, not better. And they go back to their old self. They go back to the old neural pathways because it's predictable and familiar. Familiar in misery, struggle, pain, because it's what we've memorized for so long. So long that we don't think the grass is greener on the other side. Or we don't even know what the color of the grass is on the other side because we are afraid of the unknown. But here's what they don't understand. The discomfort is actually a sign that this is working. It means your neurological state is in the process of rewiring itself. There is a battle between the old self and the new self. And that soreness, that soreness you feel after a good workout? It's not pleasant, but it means you are getting stronger. You are stretching those muscles. And that is interrupt step 2. Number 3 is bypass. In my system, this is a game changer because bypassing the critical mind during the rewiring process is everything. Your conscious mind is analytical. It's critical. It's like a shield. It's always guarded. And so when you are constantly evaluating information against your existing beliefs, there is conflict. And guess which one always wins? Your existing beliefs every time because you memorized it. That's it. Simple as that. So I needed to find ways to speak directly to my subconscious mind, bypassing that gatekeeper. That's when I found Dr. Joe's work about brain science as a foundation. Now, Joe says, the moments right after we wake up and right before sleep are when our conscious mind relaxes its guard. And then you get access, a door straight to your subconscious mind easier. Dr. Joe's research shows that in certain brainwave states, neuroplasticity increases dramatically, meaning your brain becomes more malleable and open to rewiring. So every morning and night, I would lay in bed and deliberately relax my body even more. I wouldn't recommend the bed. I would recommend sitting up because you might fall asleep again and that would be pointless. But I am in that state between wakefulness and sleep. That dreamy, lucid, drifting state where your body's relaxed but your mind is still somewhat alert. And in this state, I would mentally rehearse myself already being that person who already had success that I wanted. Not just having success, but being the kind of person for who that success was normal and expected. Similar to acting, I have a client that is an actor, but for your own life. I wasn't just playing the role of a successful person. I was that successful person neurologically. Remember, neurologically is everything. Whole body and being. Mind, body, and soul. Now here's the key. I wasn't just visualizing the end result. I was feeling the emotions that would come with being that person. Because emotions, write this down, are the language of the subconscious mind. How do I know that? I don't need to traumatize you every single time, repeatedly, for you to be traumatized. All I need is one hard-hitting emotion and you are traumatized. It's branded in you. Okay? Now, how did I do that? I asked my heart, how would this person breathe? How would this person stand? How would he walk? How would he speak? How would he show up in Zoom meetings? The whole works. And that is what cements new neural pathways in place. Now, I'm a skeptical guy. I needed to know if this was actually working or I was just delusional, crazy person. So I started to track my thoughts and patterns and emotional responses throughout the day. And I kept a record of how many times I caught myself thinking limiting thoughts, going back to those old pathways versus empowering ones. Okay? In the first week, the ratio was about 80% limiting thoughts and 20% empowering thoughts. Week 4, I should have wrote it down, but it was shifted from 40% limiting and 60% empowering. But by week 8, oh my God, I was at 80% empowering thoughts and 20% limiting thoughts. But the real proof came in my reactions to situations. When I would get a bill unexpectedly, my first thought wasn't like, oh shit, here we go again, money out the bank. But I'd be like, I'm great. Thank you for this phone bill because I can get access to Wi-Fi anywhere. I can call anyone anytime. My car breaks down, I can call the, we call them NRMA here, but yeah, someone who helps you on the road. And opportunities would appear out of nowhere, but instead of thinking, how could this go wrong? I was excited about this opportunity, the possibility. And so the moment I knew something had changed was when I was having coffee with a friend who started complaining about how hard it is to make money. In the past, I would have been like, fuck yeah, bro. I hustle my ass. This time, I was genuinely confused about his perspective. It didn't resonate with me anymore. I deleted that old pathway. It wasn't that I was forcing myself to think differently. My brain had literally rewired itself to get rid of that pathway, to see it from a new perspective and lens. Because once my subconscious was aligned with my conscious intentions, one, success started flowing in ways that I couldn't have forced or manipulated or controlled in myself. Opportunities appeared that I wouldn't have noticed before. People reaching out to collaborate, who previously wouldn't even given me the time of day. My business grew not because I was working harder, but because I became someone operating from a completely different energy. I want to remember that debt that I had, right? It started to accumulate again. Within 6 months of completing this neural rewiring process, not only had I paid that off again, but I also created multiple streams of income that felt aligned and effortless. And the best part is, I didn't have to hustle my way through it. I wasn't forcing myself to take massive action like these gurus are telling you, hustle 24/7. The actions I took came from naturally, from my new identity. And they felt obvious, like the next steps rather than something that I had to do or push myself to do. And this brings me to why manifestation work usually fails. Because it's trying to create external changes without addressing the real identity issue, internal identity, who you see yourself at the core, who you believe yourself at the core to be. It's like trying to grow a business that's only it's trying to cultivate soil that's only suitable for cactus, right? If you want to grow roses, then you want to have the best fertilizer, the best sunlight. But if the soil isn't right, they're not going to blossom. Your neural pathways are the soil in which your manifestation either grow or die. And most people are trying to manifest roses while their brains are wired to grow cactus. The affirmations, the vision boards, the gratitude journals, they are only tools. They are valuable tools, that's it. But they are trying to communicate with a brain. When you're trying to communicate with a brain that is not hardwired to receive that frequency yet, that is what the most issue is. And so here's my invitation to you. Stop trying to manifest with a brain that's wired for the opposite of what you want. Instead, focus on rewiring your neural pathways. Create a new highway in your brain that makes success, abundance, love your default setting. This isn't about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts, but it's about literally changing your whole self, your entire identity, and being so that positive thoughts become your automatic response. That's why you got to brainwash yourself every morning, every night. Okay? You got to keep hardwiring that in. But if you're ready to dive deeper into this process, book an alignment call with me and we'll see how we can personalize this for you in your life. We'll walk you through the exact step that I took to rewire my brain for success, including the specific mental rehearsals, the timing, and how to navigate the uncomfortable in-between phase so you don't go back to your old self. You can find a description below. But remember, manifestation isn't about forcing the universe to give you what you want. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts what you want. Rewire yourself and get results fast. And that doesn't happen through wishful thinking, positive affirmations alone. It happens through deliberate, systematic rewiring of your neural pathways. You don't need to create abundance. You need to become abundance. You don't need to attract success. You need to embody success neurologically. Because when you change your brain, you change your reality. Not metaphorically, but literally. So the question isn't whether manifestation works. The question is, are you willing to do the neurological repatterning, the identity work required to become the person who can receive what you are trying to manifest? Because when you brainwash yourself for success, success not only becomes possible, but inevitable.